What is happening, guys? Demas Red here. As you can see, I'm here because I've prepared a nice video for you. So I'm going to be talking about different things, but most importantly, this is going to be about a 1v1 tier list on Arena. So with the help of Drakons, Melkor, Stefan, JonSlow, and GPN, we've been able to actually create a prototype tier list in which we have determined which civilizations are the best and which ones are potentially the worst. And in this series of videos that I'm going to be uploading on a regular basis, I'm going to be diving into the different tiers. So starting with the best, ending with the worst. This video here is going to be about tier number 1, consisting of 4 civilizations. And I myself will just highlight the tech tree. So I'm going to be talking about the civ bonus, the eco bonus that is, and also I'm going to be looking at the monastery tags as well as the unique tags and unique units. And then I'm going to be handing it over to the pros, and they are going to be talking about the imp options as well as the potential weaknesses of the civilizations. So that's one thing. The other thing is I'm going to be announcing this tournament here right away, and that is the Arena tournament, similar to Killer Bee's Arabia Cup. This is going to be Demise Red Arena Cup, and it will take place on March 30 and 31. And 8 players will be able to sign up. $300 prize pool for now. You can always donate to increase the prize pool, and that's basically it. So without further ado, let's start the video. Starting with the Aztecs, it is important to mention that all players of this project have stated that this civilization is either the best or second best for the map of Arena because of their bonuses and their tech tree. They are also able to deal with other strong civilizations of the same tier, since dealing with them requires to click up earlier than them and also apply pressure, but even this needs micro in most of the cases, which means that one has to pay attention to every little military maneuver of this Meso Civ. Their eco bonus that gives the Aztecs 50 extra gold does not matter on Arena as much as on other maps, but having 5 more carrying capacity for villagers is pretty strong despite not being on the same level as Wheelbarrow. Instead, the bonus is kicking in from the beginning of the game and not in feudal age, which adds up a lot and even slows down the increasing inefficiency of building placements such as lumber camps, as the villagers spend more time on getting the resource instead of walking back to the building to drop it off. Thus, the good booming basis makes Aztecs good enough for any strat that they can go for with regards to their tech tree, since the economy keeps on being strong throughout the entire game, which becomes even more amplified with the 33% additional relic gold generation, which will be talked about a bit later. Furthermore, another bonus that makes Aztec so powerful is the military units are created 18% faster bonus, which is a great boost for their military production rate and makes them get up with eagles or crossbows, for example, faster, and basically denies any strategy of the opponent, as the output rate can become dominant. The monastery of the Aztecs is probably the strongest in the game, as it does not only have each technology available, but also in connection with the aspect that their monks get plus 5 HP for each monastery technology. The monk tech tree in general is the perfect basis for a really good smush. The monks are simply tanky and have all the techs needed in order to perform well on Arena. Having a subsequent look on the unique unit and unique tags of the Aztecs, it is important to mention that Jaguar warriors are not seen frequently on this map, because normally nobody should go for an infantry push against Aztecs, but as Japanese and Slavs it could happen, which would be the only times one can observe higher level players utilize this unit. You would not see them against Goths, because the champions with Arbalest is a more effective choice to deal with the Goths, hand cannoneer and champs, or Huskal push. While Atlatl is a great tech to go for in Arabia, it is not extremely relevant on Arena, but it is still a good tech in order to compensate the lack of the last defensive archery upgrade in Blacksmith. More importantly though, Garland Wars, the second unique tech of the Aztecs, is a great technology in order to boost the strength of Jaguar warriors that will most likely not appear, champions, and Eagle warriors that can be utilized well in combat. The expert to talk about the Imperial Age options and potential weaknesses of the Aztecs is JonSlow, who probably does not need any further introduction.
Well, with Aztecs, you have few options. You can either go, usually you want to go fast team because that echo bonus that you mentioned, you can go imp super fast and your units cost small amount of resources, so those eagles are super cheap. And monks, so one option is going monks and pikes, second option is going eagles. You can obviously go YOLO and do arbalest and siege ram if you're crazy. Lots of options. champions, jaguars, but yeah, obviously the best one is fast eagles, rams. I guess Teutons can hold a bit against them, but yeah, they are the best civ on Arena.
Next are the Malay, that are the other civ that are rated first or second by most of the top arena players involved in this project, which is quite striking as their rating on 1v1 Arabia is not terrible, but certainly not top tier. The reason for them to be so incredibly strong on Arena is the faster uptimes for each age. Advancing to age is 80% faster allows to produce 4 more villagers in Dark Age and still get up earlier than the opponent in most of the cases, as 30 villagers in Dark Age and 2 villagers in Feudal Age for Malay is pretty equal to 25 villagers during Dark Age and 2 villagers in Feudal with any other generic civilization, which is extremely strong for the economy, as Malay end up having more villagers working in Dark Age, and even though more food is invested due to more villagers being created, it is compensated by reaching Castle Age earlier and have the chance to go for an early boom or aggressive strategies. Another bonus that should not be underestimated is the battle elephants costing 30% less, which sounds great, but is balanced with the little to non-existent variety of blacksmith and stable techs for their elephants, and since the elephants have been fixed in the last major update of the game, they do not deal 100% trample damage anymore. Nevertheless, the elephants are great in order to back crossbows up, as they take care of skirmishes with ease and do not cost too many resources. Furthermore, they can be used if the enemy goes for towers to counter the Malay smush. Speaking of the Malay smush, they are only missing fervor and theocracy, which is enough to have a good smush with redemption and atonement, and together with the fastest uptimes, the monk rush of this very civilization is seen as one of the strongest. The only downside to a really fast Malay monk rush is the missing food due to the mentioned additional villagers during Dark Age, which needs to be taken care of while the attack takes place. Moreover, Malay are the only Rise of Rajas civilizations that has both heresy and faith, which protects their cheap but weak battle elephants. The unique unit of the Malay is the Karambit Warrior, which is a great spammable unit that can be used as a meat shield for the main units or a raiding unit next to Caprams, 200 Swordsmen or Arbalists. While Thalassocracy is not relevant in Arena, Forced Levy has the gold price of 30 200 Swordsmen in comparison and enables one of the best trash spams in the game, since this unit kills helps, skirms, light calves, and the spam pays off really quickly. With Arson, the Forced Levy spam takes down buildings easily, and in combination with Arbalists they can take out each other's counters. Further information on how to play with Malay in the late game and also some ideas of how to deal with them is provided by Melkor, who is known as one of the highest level arena players with excellent macro skills.
So Malay actually have one of the best Imperial options in Arena out of all the civs, because they have every single counter to everything they could possibly need. So, for example, to counter infantry, they have arbalists, they have elephants. To counter cavalry, they have halberdiers, and to counter archers, they have fully upgraded skirmisher and karambits. So they win all the unit circles of rock, paper, scissors, and they also have siege engineers for their onagers and cannons. So they really have everything they need. So ultimately, what it comes down to is the Malay player needs to not Titanic, because they have every single unit combination to fight against any possible thing that could come against them. So Malay have no siege ram, and they have 1 armor on their cavalry. So if you wanted to kill Malay, you'd have to focus on those 2 weaknesses, even though they're not huge weaknesses, because they do have their elephants to replace the armor. So I guess if you could force the game into a siege ram fest, that would be really what you want to do, because the lack of siege ram can be a big problem in archer wars. So for instance, if you get a game against Malay and you're going archers and they're going archers, one of the weaknesses for their civ would be the early siege ram, because they can't actually deal with that until they get a lot of elephants going, and that's expensive. Apart from that, Malay don't really have a weakness, because their 200 swordsmen for no gold means that they just about automatically win late post imp, so you have to do something fast.
On to the Teutons, I am personally happy to mention them here as a tier 1 civilization, as they are certainly not as strong on Arabia due to the different design of the map and its impact on economy, military production and its usage, but it is pleasant to underline that this civilization can be strong on certain maps after all, which opposes what numerous people on AoE Zone and Reddit have been saying alongside the demand to buff this slow-paced civilization. The Teutons are strong for various reasons, and while their economy bonus does not seem to be incredible, it is still nice to have 33% cheaper farms in order to spark a great economy in which one can save wood to invest it into other buildings such as a monastery and castle age right away. In addition, the conversion resistance of this civilization makes the Teutons almost unsmushable, as going against them with monks would be a bad idea since the units of them are that resistant. Having a closer look on their own monk tech tree, it becomes quite obvious that with only herbal medicine missing, the monks are top tier, and as they cannot be properly converted but can convert everything themselves, next to having a great economy at home, the saved wood from the cheaper farms can also be invested in siege workshops to back up the monks with adequate siege units. Teutonic Knights are not seen too often, but sometimes they actually do appear since they function somewhat similar to champions, but with the addition that they actually deal well with cavalry too. Their speed and pierce armor is obviously bad, for which the Teutons have other type of units to deal with. The versatility of the Teutons, which becomes striking with the slow but consistent late game push containing various possible unit compositions, makes them especially strong in the late game. Looking at the unique tags, Ironclad, which gives siege weapons +4 melee armor, is essential to Teutons in order to have an advantage, not to overfocus on the safety of their siege and instead have halberdiers nearby that will most likely take care of most of the siege sniping attempts, as the potential onagers will be way more durable with this tag. The second unique tag is Crenellations, which gives the Teutons castle +3 range, which helps a lot against any generic bombard cannons, as they will be taken down by the arrow fire of the castle, but it will not help against generic trebuchets and the Turks bombard cannons with extra range. It is also quite expensive, but can be a good defensive tag if numerous bombard cannons will be utilized by the opponents. To elaborate a bit more about the strength and the weaknesses of the Teutons, Melkor has added a couple of practical thoughts.
So there's the two sections of Imp. There's the where you still have some gold and maybe 5 relics and your army hasn't died, and then there's the bit where it goes full late Imp, where you have nothing, no gold units except siege really. So Teutons are actually good in both of those cases. In Arena, it's very easy for Teutons to get Paladin and Siege Onager at the same time. It's very possible, and that's actually a very hard combo to destroy because the Siege Onager micro can kill Habs incredibly easily. So what needs to happen to fight that, you kind of just need to attack many places, but I mean it's a good position for Teutons because they're a good defensive civ and they have this hard to kill army once it's made. And in the later stage of the game, it really is just help Siege Onager for Teutons, and maybe they can add champions if they have relics or some gold stockpiled up to counter the units that would be able to snipe the Siege Onager. So like Cavalry Hussar, they can kind of snipe him, but with good defensive micro for Halbs, it shouldn't be possible, and archers can't kill him either, so that only leaves cannons, other onagers, and fast infantry. So Teutons in post-Imp should be able to defend this with a combination of champion, halberdier, and siege onagers. Their weakness is their lack of archers and their lack of good trash. So the worst thing that can happen when you're Teutons against some enemy civ is if you have no castle defense to buy you time, no walls in good places, and suddenly you have to have an army that can move fast to defend here and then defend there. The moment you get into a place where you need to be running around the place, you've pretty much lost the game. Teutons need to have a slow push from all sides. If they get compromised where they're being invaded in many spots, that's where they become weak. They need to do a slow push. Also, earlier on, Teutons can become weak against archers if you don't have the right defense set up with mangonels or paladins.
The next top tier civilization on Arena 1v1s are the Slavs, which are known for their powerhouse type of gameplay, especially on Arabia, having delivered certainly exciting games on K2D2 for instance, even in Mirror Wars. The main reason for their aggressive potential lies in their economy bonus, which is often seen as one of the strongest in the game. Farmers working 15% faster simply exceeds any other food production from farms of other generic civilizations, resulting in a massive food income that can supply the Slavs with enough resources to have the edge in many different situations. While military buildings providing +5 population is a nice bonus, the siege workshop units costing 15% less helps the Slavs a lot in order to save resources that can be invested into other things or to have the upper hand in Mangonel wars. Though it is still important to mention that they are missing heresy and faith regarding their monastery tech tree, as for the sake of balance, it is the needed flaw of their already extremely strong siege onagers, because it is at least possible for enemy redemption monks to convert them. But besides that, the remaining given techs are solid, and with the good uptime that are related to the farm bonus of the Slavs, they have a really nice smush potential. The unique unit in this case is the Boyar, which is often seen as a rather expensive unit whose purpose of engaging in melee combat can be fulfilled by the Slavs' Nightline already. As Boyars can be countered by the same units that deal with the Nightline, they cannot be compared with cataphracts, and therefore, in addition with the low production rate, as they are produced in castles and not in stables, they are not too well seen in 1v1 matchups. The first unique tech is Orthodoxy, that gives monks +3 armor, which is used quite rarely, as it requires the castle and would only be adequate for a smush in a specific situation, which means that a 1TC push would be the strategy, which would be quite risky and probably only would take place if the map generation is terrible and the opponent has a great advantage map and civ wise. In that case though, the tech would improve the armor of the monks immensely, obviously. The second and more popular tech is Druzhina, and makes the Slavs infantry deal 5 damage in a 0.5 radius per attack, and that one is quite a strong technology, and even though it has already been analyzed by many people and content creators, it is a relevant aspect to keep in mind that in arena it can matter more than in an open map, since the chance of having limited mobility and have masses of units occasionally clashing into each other is higher on this map. Thus, this very tech becomes more relevant and turns their champions and halberdiers into some killing machines. MrGPN, who is an expert when it comes to arena build orders and analyzing games live on this map, has joined the project to discuss the late game options as well as to point out the weak spots of the Slavs.
The Slav economy allows them to quickly get to some of the strongest late game options faster than most other civs. Coupled with their siege bonuses and usage of the unique type Druzhina, they will often pull out halberdier plus siege ram, halberdier onager, or even champion onager. It's not too taxing on their great economy to do that. If needed, they could easily go with their fully upgraded cavalier or hussar to clear out ranged units, monks, to raid or snipe siege. Their choices are limited in terms of only being melee units plus siege, and they do like arbalast or bracer for their skirmishers to help deal with infantry counters, but they can mass enough siege to deal with those in most circumstances. During the Castle Age, they could often take map control with scouts and knights, or even have a very powerful smush in which their food economy lets them get to imp, get block printing and illumination very fast. Slavs are notoriously difficult to deal with in the later game. However, ranged units such as crossbows or various unique units very early in the Castle Age can prevent the Slav player from booming, and adding all the farms which they benefit so much from. They will still have a boost, but their most common units in the Castle Age like monks can suffer. They could defend with siege, but if there is not enough pressure applied, then the civilization that can up as fast to options like Arbalest can circumvent the usefulness for the Mangonels and Scorpions. Keeping Slav players spending all their wood on defending rather than extra TCs to boom is key to beating them. Some civilizations that could do this really well are Britons, Ethiopians, Malayans, Vikings, and some others. Slavs do lack heresy, which against a good monk civ that do have heresy can make it really difficult to defend against smushes on particularly bad maps. However, it's not so common for this to happen, as Slavs can make scouts in anticipation with their extra food economy. Without Arbalast or hand cannoneers, Slavs can also lose in the later game to civilizations that have very strong champion or melee anti-infantry units. Higher tier civilizations can accomplish wins against the Slavs by having great monk tech trees. Better infantry lines such as Aztecs with champions and jaguars, Malay with crambits and free gold two-handed swordsmen, and Teutons with Teutonic knights and conversion resistance. The only reason a lot of civs can compete with the Slavs is because they have a great economy bonus of their own to at least come close to the Slav farming bonus.